Hello and welcome to our latest video. This is a video series we've been doing before called Boffix Roundtable. And the idea of the Boffix Roundtable is to give you some insights of what's going on in Boffix and try and talk about some breaking news, some interesting stories with the Boffix team to let you know how it's going to affect your business. And on this video, we have some really good topics to cover. So we're going to cue the intro and get straight into it. Hello, my name is Aaron Patrick. I'm a chartered accountant, a certified UK trainer with a fancy new logo, that QuickBooks Chap on the internet, and also head of accounts here at Boffix. And as I said in the intro, today is all about answering some really topical questions and be able to ensure that you know what's going to happen with your business. So the first question that we know we need to cover is the fact that in a couple of days' time, we have the budget. And the budget itself on the 27th of October could be really significant to you and your business. So what we're going to do is going to bring Jack over from Boffix, and he's going to introduce himself, and I've got some hard-hitting questions for you. Jack, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jack. I'm an accountant here at Boffix, and I've been here for 6 years.
Jack, remind everyone, what happened last time there was a big budget? What was the main takeaway points from you?
So the big takeaway point was the increase in the corporation tax. We had the raise from the original 19% to 25%. So that is not based on all your profit. So you get your original 19% up to £50,000, and then any profit above that will be increased to 25%.
Yeah, well done, well done. And wasn't it really a great example of where the budget could have a real significant effect on businesses? Because if you remember back in the time, there was a bit of a panic, wasn't there, in terms of making sure everyone knew about it and the effects that could happen. What was your takeaway on it?
Yeah, so obviously we had the original rate was 20%, so everyone was happy that it was going down to 19%. But when it raised by another 6%, everyone was quite shocked because it was such a large figure. But then they realised that most of the companies wouldn't be eligible to pay the 25% because they'll make less than the £50,000. So most of our clients would be happy with that. But then the larger companies would be paying the 6% increase. So that's when there was a bit of relief in there. Yeah,
exactly right. Exactly. And I think from a client's point of view, they needed to know, didn't they, what that's going to affect them. So we had quite a few clients, didn't we, asking us what their different tax rates were going to be and how that's going to affect them. And it wasn't too bad a thing for it. We were able to get most of that information to clients, weren't we?
Yes, we was, definitely, yes.
Yeah, so I think that's the key thing, really. When you get a big announcement like that, when it comes to budgets and everything else, it's about not burying your head in the sand, isn't it, Jack? You've got to be able to kind of do some forward planning, thinking about it. The good thing normally about budgets is that we get told in advance of what's going to happen. So you've always got that time. So, don't you agree? It's really important for clients to think about making sure that they've got that, that information on hand.
Yeah, obviously, our main concern is making sure that clients are aware of the different tax bands that are available. So when we had to make people aware that there's obviously an increase likely to happen after April 2022. So we had to make sure they were aware, because obviously we do their tax estimate every month. So we need to make sure that we are increasing that to obviously whatever figure there needs to be, obviously with the 6% increase. So we will need to make sure that they're aware that there will be a start figure, maybe put more aside each month to cover that extra tax, or make sure it's in their budget to make sure that when they do the budget that they've got that 6% increase.
Yeah, brilliant advice there. Brilliant advice. Jack, don't go away too far, but we're going to go and talk to Nathan now. And what we're going to do now is we're going to start thinking about, well, that's what happened massively in the last one. So we now know that there was some big changes that happened in the last budget, but what do we expect in the next budget?
So hello, my name's Nathan. I've been working here at Boffix for just over 2 years now. I'm one of the accounts apprentices here at Boffix.
Nice one. So Nathan, let's start thinking. Let's put those tinfoil hats on. Let's start thinking about what could get announced. Now, one of the things about this particular budget is a lot of the surprises we already know about. So the national insurance hike, all those sort of things we've already been told in advance. But there apparently there's some surprises that we're expecting as well. Can you give a bit of an insight of what you think is going to get announced at the budget?
So this is purely speculative at the moment, and we are obviously got to wait until Rishi Sunak does his speech on the 27th. What they're expecting to be a bit of a cat out of the hat moment within regards to what they're going to be doing is actually a decrease in the amount of taxable income you can have before you pay capital gains tax. which is going to affect quite a few clients, whether you have anything to do with stocks, shares, or maybe even property.
Yeah, so Nathan, let's just clarify on this. This is something that's going to affect personal tax, isn't it? Not business tax. Yeah. But that's still quite a significant amount of people, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Sure, it's quite a significant amount of people. What we tend to find is a lot of people have side income, so they might run the business. Say they might be, I don't know, a butcher or a builder, but then actually there's a bit of a side hustle. They might have a couple of properties, and what we're trying to get across to our clients is what's actually happened and what sort of tax implications it's going to have their end.
Yeah, definitely. I think this could be a real significant one. I think just like we alluded to with Jack, I think this is about forward planning, isn't it? If this event does come into play, I think there's a lot of forward planning we're going to need to think about, isn't there?
Yeah, I believe as well that it's more about cash flow more than anything. It's maybe manipulating your assets to making sure you're getting the most profit out of them. I feel like if you are more made aware for these the changes in the tax, then you can basically prepare to make sure that you are working in the most tax compliant way.
Yeah, sound advice. And like they say, sweat those assets. Go. All right, Nathan, brilliant. Don't go too far away. We're going to bring you back in again. But now we've got James on the next part of the show, and we're going to talk about what this could affect our clients.
Hi there, my name is James. I've been working at Boffix for just over 3 years. I'm one of the bookkeeping team, and I'm also working on accounts and things like that as well.
Brilliant. So, James, Nathan's just dropped a bombshell of what may happen. There may be an increase in the taxable elements or taxable amount that you could be subject to on capital gains tax. So, give an insight, if Rishi was to announce this on the 27th, what things should clients be looking out for? Because I think this could be quite more significant than people probably first realise.
Oh, absolutely. I think especially nowadays as well, with the advent of a lot of things that could be incorporated into capital gains tax, things like cryptocurrency selling is going to be included within that. So if you're somebody who, even as an individual, is involved with crypto trading, that's going to be something that's majorly affectful. Even if it's not a huge profit that's made from that, this lowering of the tax band is going to be very, very detrimental in a sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's a bit of a buzzword at the moment, isn't it, crypto? So I think a lot of people are getting involved in it, but they don't quite know the knock-on effects. At the moment, with £12,000 worth of profits being made, at least there's going to be a minimal amount of people who are going to hit that threshold. And a lot of people can trade their crypto with no problems. But if they reduce it down to as low as the rumors are, what Nathan said it could be, I think there's going to be a lot more people who are going to have to be a bit more concerned about it, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree. I think fundamentally as well, to get to that £12,000, which is what the current threshold is, and obviously where it's lying at the moment, if that's going to lower any much, well, people are going to be, who are trading crypto on a lesser basis, are going to effectively get the knock-on effects, especially to get that £12,000 of profit as well. There's usually a hefty investment in there. So the people who are investing in crypto in the first place are going to be the ones who are able to take this hit. Now, with these changes, that potentially may not be the case.
Yeah, and people have seen significant gains, haven't they? So, I mean, we know ourselves, we know that currently at the £12,000, there's a lot of work involved for getting our clients to be compliant from a tax point of view. A lot of records need to be kept, a lot of information we need to get off clients. There's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of work involved.
Oh, yeah.
So if they do reduce that, I think more than ever, it's going to be about good record keeping, isn't it? To be able to make sure that you're going to stay compliant.
I think that's the only way you can really play this, to be honest. As long as you've got the records, you're able to plan, but it's a case of just being a bit more vigilant and making sure you've got the eyes on things. Hopefully, a lot of the crypto trading apps, which I think is going to be the set of income that's going to be the most affected by this, hopefully they do have features built in that allow you to track this a little bit better. And I know some of them are quite good, but obviously it's just a case of trying to make sure you're keeping on top of those things, really.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think that's wishful thinking based on what we've seen so far. But let's hope they improve their game. I think the more people getting involved in it, the more people then they're going to see these issues, and hopefully that's something that go forward.
Definitely going to be a selling point for some of these apps, I think, going forward
Definitely.
As well. So perhaps I'm a little bit optimistic at the minute, but you never know; things may change in the next few coming months.
Yeah, and if you remember from the channel, we visited the idea that QuickBooks can be used as your crypto trading recording solution. And at the time, we weren't quite there. It wasn't quite working. It was a bit of an experiment that didn't quite work. But I think it might be something we need to reinvest in and revisit for our clients and our members as well. So yeah, keep an eye on the channel because we're definitely going to bring that back in. All right, cheers for that, James. Okay, then. So we've just talked about the fact that we are thinking about the budget and what's going on. Now, again, we've already been told that the MTD, so Making Tax Digital, has been delayed, and it's caused a little bit of an upset, a talking point to go through. So instead of going through and just concentrating on the negatives of MTD, Making Tax Digital, being delayed, and hopefully in the budget we're going to learn more about what that means, let's look at the positives. So let's bring back James again, actually, and let's talk about what the positives are for this MTD being delayed.
Well, although we have a bit of a setback regarding the MTD delay, there are definitely going to be a few advantages, especially for those people who are wanting to deal with VAT and such things on their own, because at the moment, MTD is only affecting the VAT tax.
Yeah.
I certainly think that people who are setting up for themselves can sometimes get a bit bogged down with MTD. It can be a little bit of a minefield to go through.
Yeah.
So having that extra time is never going to be a bad thing to people who are only just getting to grips with these schemes and things like that.
Definitely. And I know we've tried to keep the cost down as much as possible with the software that's involved, but ultimately there is going to be a cost for you to be MTD compliant, because you're going to need software, possibly need an accountant or a business advisor to help you get them done. So, there's that element to it as well, isn't there?
Oh, totally. Yeah, it gives people, it even gives people a fighting chance to figure out what software works best for them. Obviously, we're going to say QuickBooks. It's one we like quite a lot. It's one that does the trick for us. But other people have other choices to what software will fit their needs. So it gives those people the chance to actually think about and fully assess what software works for them.
Yeah, definitely. And also, if they're forced to move on software, which is what MTD is all about, I suppose there's a little bit longer than for them to think about training on that particular software, not just on MTD itself, but actually using that software, isn't there?
That's also true. It's one of the other things they're definitely going to need to assess when it comes down to figuring out what software works best for them.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to remember, and it's something that we keep hammering home here at this channel, and it's that idea that the software itself, it shouldn't just be for compliance sake. So you shouldn't just be using QuickBooks or whatever software you're using just to make sure you can file an MTD, but there are other benefits out of using software as well. At least them having a more phased approach into getting them used to the software, getting them trained on the software properly means that they can make the most of that. So what sort of benefits do you think they can get from using software?
Well, I think the amount of management and tracking that comes built into the software, it's not even necessarily the third parties and things like that, are so much more improved than things like Excel or paper records. And that's just for the sheer fact technology is always going to outweigh in that category. There's no real obligation to work things out yourself in terms of trying to figure out every single little receipt or anything like that.
Yeah.
Any software has that chance to do that. And I think that's something people are going to engage with more, especially as MTD kind of rolls up further and further.
Yeah, you're right, exactly. And hopefully the benefit of this is people are going to say, right, I need to be on software because of MTD. So let's get on software now and find the benefits of being on that software, not I'm forced on software and I'm having to use it. So hopefully if people have that mindset of kind of, they've got this almost like a soft period, haven't they, of getting themselves set up and getting themselves ready for it. Hopefully that means that they can get the most out of the software.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, it's a case that softwares are becoming more and more of an obligation, and we, from a accounting firm that obviously uses software quite a lot, can definitely see the benefit in that. But for some of the people who do their accounting in a more old-fashioned way, it does give them that time to get to grips with softwares and things that perhaps they would not have dealt with in the past.
Beautiful. Well done. All right, next time then we're going to go, we've just talked about the positives of this delay. Now hopefully Nathan stopped crying now and we can find out what the negatives of this delay could be.
So actually I'm quite an advocate for MTD. I think that everybody should be on software as soon as possible, really, because what really happens with MTD is it really shows a transparency in your work. What it helps us as business advisors and accountants, it gives us that next level of depth when working on your account, because we know traditionally as an accountant we should all get the same sort of figures. It's that next level of depth. Yeah,
exactly right. And the buzzword real-time information, isn't it? It's about saying, right, if we've got to advise a client, and let's be honest, during furlough, during pandemic, it was never more apparent, was it? Real-time information is so important to our clients, and forcing people onto that software, forcing their hand to go on there was a force for good, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's something that I was actually really looking forward to for our clients, because I do find that sometimes it's just a bit harder to correspond with the clients that aren't actually set up with MTD. It is that, as we'd mentioned, an a bit of an additional expense, but it's something that you'll find more benefit out of than if you just try and prolong the process. It's something that's it's coming and it's staying for good. It's not something that's going to be going anytime soon. So I believe the quicker that people get set up, the quicker that they're basically going to be ready to move on in the future.
Yeah, and hopefully as well, with MTD being implemented correctly and the right way that we're hoping it's going to come in, should be beneficial for their cash flow as well. Is that right in saying?
Yeah, I'd definitely say it's something that's beneficial for their cash flow, because a lot of these accounting softwares now, they do have cash flow features which basically show you exactly your cash flow through the in and out months. And if they're not, when they were some of the softwares, they're not quite as in depth as you need, and you can get third party plugins to actually work with your financial data on a month by month basis, which can really help your business decisions going forward.
Definitely. And I think for me, like, and I'm sure you're exactly the same, it's not just about what this delay means for the short term in terms of, getting them on software is great and moving them on there. But it's also about that kind of long-term idea, that whole idea that, in a utopia world, we're looking at blockchains and we're looking at all these wonderful software solutions, which actually delaying MTD could end up delaying those sort of long-term elements as well. So what do you think of that? Do you think that's something that we can accelerate any further, or what's your feelings behind it?
So I believe that I believe in the world that we live in now, it's all about trying to get as much technological advancements and trying to be as up to date as we can with our data. As I mentioned, I'm quite an advocate for making sure that everything's online. So just to follow on a bit from what Aaron says, obviously with blockchain, it's a bit of a follow on from MTD. So we know that we can't get blockchain set up until MTD is fully out in force, until realistically every client is basically set up. And I feel like that's what the extension has really not helped us on, because with these regulations being in place, it actually forced our clients to actually get set up on MTD. But obviously we know now that's just been extended. And I feel like that with blockchain being such a powerful part of the future, it's just something that we're just prolonging. I believe the more technological advancements that we get, it really is more that it's beneficial for us as the consumer.
Definitely. Well done, Nathan. Right, so that's talking again about the idea of us thinking about what's definitely going to happen, everything else. Let's get those tinfoil hats back on. So I'm going to invite Jack back on again, and we're going to start thinking about the rumour mill around MTD. Jack, so it seems like, and you let me know what you think here, but it seems like this delay may have a positive effect on at least ensuring that clients understand their tax position a little bit more. Have you got any insights of what could happen with this delay?
Yeah, so obviously we know that MTD for self-employed people is coming into play in 2024 in April. We think the delay is because they're wanting to make it quarterly returns. So that's why we think it's coming into play. So that means every self-employed person that's earning over £10,000 per year will need to submit their tax return via a software of their choice.
Yeah, and there's also an opportunity here in there to change that awkward date. How many times have you had to explain to a client what the 5th of April is all about and trying to work it there? There's a chance we could change that as well, isn't there?
Yeah, so obviously we know the year-end date is the 5th of April at the minute, but there is rumours that it's going to be changed to the end of March, the 31st of March or the 31st of December. We have a lot of questions why the current tax year end is the 5th of April, and it's hard for us to explain that because of being such a strange date. And ideally for us, it'd be a lot better for it to be at the end of the month, and it's a lot easier to do our work.
And if we really start thinking about it as well, there's a rumour it could be 31st December. I mean, how much easier would it be if we could just have calendar years as well? I think that's probably too much to ask for, but you got to admit that could be quite a useful year end, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be ideal for having calendar year. Obviously, we're not guaranteed that's likely to happen, or even the year end change at all. But having that as a rumour is pretty ideal for us. And if it did happen, then it would help the clients out and it help us out a lot as well.
Yeah, take a lot of confusion away, won't it? And yes, there's a lot of kind of what's and ifs, and there's a lot of kind of people on the other side saying, oh, if you change the dates, you're going to cause all these problems and everything else. But, if it's a chance to make it easier for a client, I think yes, it may make our life a little bit more difficult, but I think that's worthwhile doing for the long term, isn't it?
Yes, definitely.
Definitely. Awesome. Brilliant. Cheers for that, Jack. All right, so the next bit we want to go to. So we've already been talking about today about QuickBooks Online and how wonderful the software is for our clients and how we do recommend it brilliantly. It's a force for good when it comes to making tax digital. And okay, I'm a little bit biased being the QuickBooks Chap, but I do believe it's one of the best pieces of software out there. Now, just so you all know, there's a big change in the mobile app itself, and the mobile app has had a massive, massive change to it. So small but significant in the fact that we can now get receipt capture and being able to do it all in our mobile app. So I thought this would be a great opportunity to invite all of the Boffix team that's been involved in this Boffix roundtable back on. I'm going to go around the room and we're going to ask them their top feature for their mobile app. So if I invite everyone back on. Okay, team, we're obviously really excited about the new updates that have happened to the QuickBooks app, but the app has changed massively. So we're talking about the mobile app in particular here. I'm going to go around the room now to each one of you. So what is your favorite feature in the last year or so that's been brought to that mobile app? James, do you want to go first?
Sure. So I think one of the things that's important for clients especially as well is the new receipt capture feature, which is definitely useful for them because although these sort of technologies have existed on the market for quite a long time, I think clients, number one, don't really understand where to find these apps, and number two, have no real obligation to pay for these apps. So I think that being actually built into QuickBooks is very helpful because it pulls off all of the data and gives them all of the information they need to post the bills and expenses nice and easy straight from their receipts.
Yeah, and I think also with the fact that it's built directly in the software means we get that tighter integration with the data as well. You said brilliantly that there are other opportunity or other solutions on the market, and yes, you can install another app and that can work nicely, but they don't have that tight integration. And I think we've started to see some. It's still not perfect, the receipt capture, but it's starting to really show its kind of its wings, hasn't it? It's starting to give us a bit of opportunity to really go with it and show what it's capable of, hasn't it, James?
Yeah, I think definitely, especially from a client's perspective as well, if they're wanting to manage a lot of things by themselves, especially if they've got this QuickBooks app, now they can do it via the mobile app and via the desktop version. They can quite easily pull all their receipts onto the system, and rather than have to mess around with a lot of the other functions that may be a little bit more intimidating on first glance.
Brilliant. Nice one. Nathan, what's your favourite feature that's happened to the mobile app in the past year or so?
So my favourite addition to the mobile app, I think might have been around here a bit longer than a year, but it's actually the mileage function. So with the mileage function, I believe this is something that's absolutely critical for clients that do a lot of travelling. So essentially how it works is you download the app and it basically tracks it as live GPS tracking on your phone at all times. So it basically calculates where you're going, how long it's took you, and how many miles you've done. And then it's just a simple swipe right to accept it as a business travel, and then swipe left to say if it's a personal travel. So the thing that really we think can be really beneficial for our clients is it really gives a nice detailed breakdown for how many miles they've done, which actually then we can replicate in their accounts. I actually find when I work on a lot of the clients' data, it's probably one of the expenses that I believe a lot of clients miss out on, because if we're not aware that you're doing the traveling, it's something that we don't know about. If we don't know about it, then it's a bit of an expense we're never going to see. Therefore, it's a really good way to really reduce down your tax.
Brilliantly put. Yeah, definitely. And I wonder where they got that left and right swiping idea from. Obviously, they've just created that for themselves. But this, the one thing that I think has been enhanced even further lately is the introduction of rules as well. Why do you think rules is going to be important for them?
I believe rules is because if you go into a certain place every time and you don't quite miss it, it basically just automatically adds the travel for you as well. So say that you're just going, oh, I'm just traveling from home to the unit, then you can say, oh, you've done this, that's automatically my business expense, and then it's dealt with and put into QuickBooks appropriately.
Nice one. Yeah, definitely. Jack, what's your favorite feature that's happened to the mobile app in the past year or so?
Mine's definitely the cash flow forecast.
Explain to the world why the cash flow forecast is going to be, or why is it useful to our clients?
So what it brings to our clients is it allows you to track projects, your different jobs, and the locations. So clients can easily track where they're making their most money, so they can project whether a certain area of their business or a certain location is doing better. So if they've got multiple locations across the UK, they can check where the most money is coming from. So if it's down south, if it's up north, if it's central, then they can assess whether they need to put more money up into certain areas of the country to make sure that's competing with wherever the best location is. Also, with the different projects, it allows you to work out how much you're spending on particular jobs or how much you're making on particular jobs as well. So companies and clients can track their different types of cash flow a lot easily with that function.
Yeah, and I think the key thing is as well, isn't it? It's predicting what's going to happen. I think that's where, for me, like the idea that in your pocket you can get out your phone and you can see how much money your business is going to have in 24 months or 48 months time. I think it's huge, isn't it? So, Jack, is there anything that they need to know about, or is there anything that the users of the software need to have enabled to let them be able to predict the cash flow going forward?
Yeah, so the only current one at the minute is making sure your bank is connected. So you've got the live direct feed connected to your QuickBooks account.
Yeah, and I suppose the thing to remember there is that 90-day rule, isn't it, which frustrates everyone.
Yeah, unfortunately, with the new GDPR rules, everyone has to connect their bank every 90 days. And it makes clients actually go onto their QuickBooks and making sure they're checking their company accounts at least once a quarter. So it gets them on their QuickBooks account as well as wanting to update the bank as well.
Perfect. And that is it. That is our 3 top features in the QuickBooks mobile app, brought to you by the Boffix Roundtable. And there we have it, our Boffix Roundtable back with a bang. Hopefully you found this content really, really useful. We basically take these problems, these issues that we found that our clients are facing, and we want to be making sure that we provide them to you on a regular basis. So keep in tune and keep subscribed to our channel for more Boffix Roundtable content. You never know, one of your questions that you've been answering on our comments below, or as a client of ours, might get answered live on this show. So that's the Boffix Roundtable done and dusted for another month now, and we will make sure we get this content to you on a regular basis. My name's been Aaron Patrick. A big thank you to all of the team at Boffix for being able to provide their input as well to what's been happening in the world of accountancy, bookkeeping, and everything in between. Don't forget, like, subscribe, all that jazz. It's really going to help the channel grow. It's going to mean that more people get this important information. You know our motto. It's all about making sure that small businesses don't just survive, but thrive. It's been a pleasure to do this video, as always, and I'm sure I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.